Welcome to r/Topposts, where OP kicks a pregnant woman. Our next Reddit post comes from r/Am I the Butthole. I kicked a pregnant woman. I have a dog. She's my world. I love her like a child. That dog is my best friend. Unfortunately, she lives with my mother and sister, not me. My sister brought a girlfriend over who was 4.5 months pregnant. That girlfriend spent all evening complaining about my dog, that there was dog hair everywhere and that the dog was whining, etc. I said that she could leave if she wanted. The dog lives here and she doesn't. My sister said, "Neither do you, OP." I said, "Yeah, but my dog does live here. Besides, I was raised in this house. This is my mother's house. I have more right to be here than this woman." Then the girlfriend started teasing my dog, pretending to give the dog food and then moving it out of her reach. I told her to stop and she wouldn't. Finally, my dog had enough. My dog jumped up, put her paws on the pregnant lady's lap, and took the food out of her hands. The pregnant lady kicked my dog. So, without thinking, I kicked her. The woman yelled and said that she was pregnant and I could have killed her baby, but whatever. I said, "You could have killed my baby." But anyways, am I the butthole? I love this comment. Her leg wasn't pregnant. It can still get kicked. Yeah, in general, I hate to put a take out there that's like, yeah, it's okay to hurt a pregnant lady. But yo, have people not seen John Wick? Don't mess with other people's dogs or just pets in general. Our next Reddit post is from Kindly Article. I've started to, on occasion, accidentally, but on purpose, not hang up my phone correctly when getting off a call with my daughter-in-law. I then proceed to talk to my husband about how much I enjoy talking to her, how lovely I think she is, how glad I am that our son chose her, and whatever other boost I think that she may need. She doesn't have any family that uplifts her, just the kind that tears her down. I started doing this after my son told me about his wife coming to him in full-on snot tears because I'd once butt-dialed her while talking to my husband about her. She stayed on the line to hear what I really thought of her, expecting the worst because that's been her experience of family. Apparently, she was quite touched by the things that I said, and my son told me that it gave her a confidence boost that lasted weeks. So I do it more often now. Neither of them have any idea that I do it on purpose though. They just think that I'm getting old and worse at managing my tech. Oh, that's sweet. I think we could all use more uplifting comments. Like, listen to this compliment that I saw in the comments earlier. rSlash, I actually agree with your take on this story, which is surprising because you're such a dumbass. Wow. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I'll take that as a compliment, sure. Our next Reddit post is from Adorable Axolotl. I'm a 21-year-old woman, and unfortunately, I lost my dad suddenly 2 years ago. My dad was an alcoholic, so I didn't have a good relationship with him. He was often verbally and emotionally abusive to me as a kid, so I stopped talking to him about 2 years before he passed. His death came as a shock to me, since I never thought that he would pass away so young at the age of 54. My dad didn't have any other children, and my parents were divorced at the time of his death, and I'm an only child who has no other relatives that I'm close to. I ended up having to decide everything since my dad passed, which put a lot of stress on me since I was grieving horribly. My mom, seeing how horribly stressed and overwhelmed I was, offered to be the one to close his bank account, which I accepted, since she told me there was barely any money left in the account. Besides closing the bank account, my mom didn't offer me much support since she was super bitter from the divorce. She's also a very cold person in general. Just a couple of days later, she started to complain about how I needed to move on and asking, "Why do you care when he wasn't a good dad?" After that, I started college. I relied on my college fund, which my dad had set up when I was born to pay for me to go to college. My mom, who had control over my college fund, started being weird when I texted her asking when she was going to pay for my first term. I asked over and over again when she would pay it. She kept saying, "I'll get to it, don't worry about it." As the week came closer to an end, I realized that she wasn't going to pay for my college, and I was going to be stuck with a $15,000 bill and no way to pay it. So I made the hard decision and dropped out of school. After dropping out and telling my mom that she missed the deadline, she told me that she was once again disappointed in me and that I wasn't allowed to move back in with her because I stress her out too much, and she thinks that I'm abusive. She also said that she was going to take the baseball cards that my dad collected with me, as well as some paintings that he got in the divorce. Those baseball cards and paintings were the only physical items of my dad's that I was able to get from the apartment. I was absolutely devastated after she told me this. So I ended up just moving in with my boyfriend. Over the next 6 months, I attempted several times to contact my mom regarding my college fund, as well as to get help with paying for my dad's burial of the urn, but I got no answer. My mom also took me off of her insurance as soon as I was kicked out. So that was a fun surprise when I had a UTI and had to go to the hospital. It took a while for me to process everything because over a month or two, I essentially lost my entire family and technically became homeless. If it wasn't for my boyfriend, I would have had nowhere to go. After 6 months, I decided I was ready to go to community college. So I decided to ask my mom about the college fund. When I texted my mom about it, she said that she was using my college fund for herself. I was shocked and angry. My mom promised me my whole life that I would never have to worry about paying my way through college like she did. She already has a bachelor's degree and over 30 years of job experience. On top of that, she makes a lot of money. From what I could guess, over $100,000 a year. So there is no question as to whether or not she can afford to live well. I was angry and texted her, "How could you do this? Dad put aside that money for me and you promised that it was mine." My mom texted back that I was disgusting and money hungry and that she needed the money more than I did. Outraged and heartbroken, I decided to get a lawyer. Long story short, I was able to get a lawyer and the whole process took over a year to complete. Essentially, we had to redo their divorce and the division of assets as well as claiming me as the beneficiary. My mom fought and stalled the whole time. This could have been done in a couple of months, but she stalled it to last over a year, which cost us both a lot of money because of it. I was able to strike a deal with my lawyer that I wouldn't have to pay until the matter was over. I also had to take out a loan. In the end, I ended up winning the case. We discovered that my dad's bank account that she closed because it didn't have a lot of money in it actually had about $90K in it. I ended up getting half of that, $45K. I also got his half of the retirement plan as well as the baseball card collection, which is worth about $50K, and the paintings. We also learned that at some point after she kicked me out, she took a long trip to Europe using the remainder of my college fund. She had to reimburse me for that. As of today, I haven't spoken to or texted my mother in over 2 years. I'm waiting for the retirement agency to process all the retirement accounts to go to me, so I haven't seen any money other than the baseball cards and the paintings. My boyfriend and I moved out of his parents' house into an apartment. He's a full-time teacher now, and I'm still working my way through college. Luckily, financial aid has helped me out a lot. Me and my boyfriend have plans on getting married one day once things settle down a bit. Man, oh man, Opie has an abusive mother and an abusive father. Talk about getting a raw deal. Our next Reddit post comes from rSlash. My little brother, who's 3 months old, is actually my fiance's kid. Wait, what, huh? My little brother is my fiance's kid? Yo, what is this title? Alright, Opie starts, "Yeah, the title is messed up, I'm aware. I'm a 24-year-old woman and my fiancé is a 25-year-old guy. We've been together since we were 17 years old. Honestly, he was always kind, handsome, and funny, and everyone used to say that I was lucky to have the whole package. I felt so lucky too. He always treated me with love and respect, so this makes everything so shocking for me. I've always had a good relationship with my mom. It's always been her and I against the world. My dad died in an accident when I was little. My mom dated guys on and off, and they were usually cool, but nothing really past the early stages. About 4 years ago, my mom told me that she was pregnant, which was a huge surprise. Oh, I'm starting to piece this story together. OP means my half little brother. Okay, yo, her boyfriend knocked up the mom. My mom was around 42 years old, and although she was sort of dating someone recently, it was still a big shock. She never thought that she could get pregnant at her age, and I could tell that she was stressed and worried. I decided to support her since she's always supported me and tried to reassure her. She then had my brother, who's now 3 years old. I have a close relationship with my brother. I've helped taking care of him since he was born, and I just love the little guy. My fiance was also helpful with my brother. We would take him out for ice cream, go to the playground, pool time during the summer, etc. But nothing was weird about it. He was just my boyfriend spending time with my brother and I. So this is how I found out. My fiancé and I lived together since we finished college. My fiancé wasn't at home since he was hanging out with a friend, but I was home because I didn't feel like going out. At some point, my laptop died, and I was too lazy to go get my charger, so I just took my fiancé's iPad. The iPad was logged in, and I got a bunch of message pings. Anyways, that got my attention, and I went to check it out, and of course, I found everything. My mom's phone number wasn't listed with her name, but I recognized the phone number and verified it with my phone. She was telling my fiancé that she felt guilty and that I should know. He said that he also felt guilty, but he couldn't lose me, and they messed up. My mom said that it was unfair for my brother to never know his dad, and that my fiancé should be able to live with his son, and that my fiancé has a right to act like a dad, not just a brother-in-law. I broke down. What the actual F? There weren't a lot of older messages, just some photos stored of my brother as a newborn, my mom pregnant, and more photos of my brother growing up in an album. I couldn't anymore. I cried for what seemed like ages, and I just waited for my boyfriend to come back home. I wish I was one of those women who could just pretend that everything was fine before confronting the cheater, but I can't. He came back later that night, and I just gave him the iPad with the conversation opened, and I saw his face completely go pale. I asked for an explanation. When? How? Why? And he didn't want to explain at first, but he knew that he had to. Apparently, a few years back while I was traveling on a girls' trip, my fiancé and mom had dinner together, which isn't a strange occurrence. Somehow, one thing led to another, and they ended up sleeping together. They felt guilty, but apparently not guilty enough because they slept together 2 to 3 more times. Each time, they were using the excuse of meeting up to discuss how to tell me. Apparently, when my mom got pregnant, they stopped sleeping together and decided to not tell me. Since my fiancé loved me and couldn't lose me, and my mom didn't want to lose her daughter. So here we are now, with 2 of the most disgusting humans. I obviously broke off the engagement, told my mom to never talk to me again, and moved in with a friend. I feel bad for my brother since I really love him, but I can't be around him now. I just can't. I feel like it would remind me of all those times that we talked about having kids. Now I just want to puke every time I think about it. Man, jeez. For a lot of people, the single worst moment of your life is when you find out that you've been cheated on. To know that someone that you care and love for deeply has betrayed you. OP experienced this doubly, ×2, losing both her fiancé and her mother. And on top of that, her love for her little brother got corrupted by this gross scandal. Oh, I feel so sorry for OP. Oh, all right, hold on. Let me do the math on this. The fiancé is 25 now, and the kid is 3. So 3 plus 9 months means the fiancé was probably about 21, and the mom would have been 42, so about 38. So 21-year-old guy sleeping with a 38-year-old mother of his girlfriend. Gross. Our next Reddit post comes from rSlash traumatize them back. Ooh, I may have to check out that subreddit later. So I'm a 45-year-old woman and my husband is 39. A few years ago, I went bar hopping in our town. We ended up at a small bar and ran into a friend. We were all in a back patio area standing around and talking to the group. We did introductions because it was my first time meeting everyone. At this point, everyone knew that I was married. While we were talking, my husband was standing across from me and we were still talking to the group in sort of a circle. All of a sudden, I felt hands on my back giving me a back rub. A full-on squeeze the shoulders back rub. I kind of froze, but I gave my husband bug eyes trying to tactfully tell him that something was wrong. My husband gave me a funny look because he wasn't quite sure what was wrong. Anyways, the guy stopped rubbing my shoulders and walked away. My husband walked over to me and asked what was wrong. I told him exactly what happened. My husband responded, "Well, let me go do that to him." So he walked up behind the guy who was about 10 feet away from me with his back to us. Then my husband started rubbing his back. My husband asked him, "This is kind of weird, isn't it?" The guy said, "Yeah." Then my husband said, "I bet you don't like it, huh?" The guy said, "No." Then my husband yelled, "Then why the f*** would you do that to my wife?" I think the guy was so drunk that he didn't even realize whose back he was rubbing, which is not an excuse. He acted completely shocked and scared. After a bit of a verbal scuffle with the group, the guy was sent home by security and they asked us to leave out the front. This reaction by my husband was the best though. He could have punched the guy, but this was so much better. I still laugh about it to this day. Usually I try to come up with some kind of clever or interesting commentary, but on this one, guys, just don't touch people without their consent, please. And to be clear, I'm criticizing the first guy, not the husband, because the husband definitely gave that guy a dose of his own medicine. That was r/slash best of Redditor updates, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.